Well, CTV's question period with Vassy Kapelos wrapped up 2025 today with a sit-down interview with Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. On the show, Poilievre called out the MPs who left his caucus and crossed the aisle to the Liberals, accusing the Prime Minister of being behind some, quote, dirty backroom deals.
Mr. Carney has said that he wants to get a majority, not by winning in a majority government election, but by making backroom deals in order to get floor crossers. And
but the Conservatives made backroom deals too.
Canadians specifically rejected a Liberal majority in the last election. The vast majority of voters voted against that majority, and it is undemocratic through a series of backroom deals of Mr. Carney to try and concentrate more power and money in his own hands rather than allowing the Canadian people's decision to stand.
Now, pressed by Vassy on why Carney and not his leadership is to blame for Conservatives defecting and why he isn't displaying any contrition, Poilievre admitted that he's troubled by the floor crossings, but he will continue to focus on affordability issues for Canadians. The Conservative leader was pressed on how his plans for how he would actually accomplish that.
I would axe all of the carbon taxes, and I would cut other taxes as well, and that's how we're going to make life affordable. And I wouldn't be running a $78 billion money printing deficit right now. I would be bringing the deficit down. So it is the cost of government is driving up the cost of living. That's why Canadians cannot afford to live, and is precisely why Conservatives are calling for an affordable government so that Canadians can have an affordable life.
With me now is James Moore, a former Conservative cabinet minister. James, thanks for being here.
Good to be with you.
Take me through your reaction to Pierre Poilievre's interview on question period. Year-end, politicians often do this, and he was pushed at a number of different points. Do you think he took enough responsibility for the floor crossings to the Liberals?
I mean, yeah, I would encourage everybody to watch the whole interview. As always, Vassy does a good job, and Pierre Poilievre has a lot to say. Look, 2025, make no mistake, was a tough year for the Conservative Party. It started the way the Conservative Party wanted it to start, which is 20 points up, and it ended where we are right now. But look, Pierre Poilievre is going to have a moment of reckoning at the Conservative Party conference, and by the way, I think he's going to win. I think Conservative Party members want him to continue as leader. The vast majority of Canadians in their lifetime are never members of a political party, and the people who are members of the Conservative Party right now are people who joined the party because they believed in Pierre Poilievre's leadership. They like the way in which he carries himself, and they really hope that he will pivot from being an opposition leader to being a proposition leader, somebody who proposes the ideas that are necessary for the country moving forward. So I think he'll survive his leadership review at the party conference, and I think it's mostly because Conservative Party members have deep respect for him and the work ethic that he shows and the grind that he's shown in trying to build the party, record fundraising, the best level of support that the party has had in terms of raw votes since 1988. But Conservative Party members are also deeply disappointed with the fact that we didn't win and that the party didn't get over the top and succeed in getting a government mandate from the Canadian people. So it's a time for soul searching, I think, for a lot of Conservative Party members about how does the party position itself, how does it pivot to move forward, and how do we become more successful in the next election campaign. And obviously that in our system revolves a lot around the question of leadership and whether or not Pierre Poilievre can make that transition from being an opposition leader to being a prime minister in waiting.
Well, you've used the word a couple times, pivot, right, and transition, and it feels like that was ultimately Pierre Poilievre's downfall, unable to pivot from how he is in the House of Commons, coming off of those decisions, blowing that 20-point lead that the Conservatives had in the poll. Whether this interview or not in the last little bit, why do you feel that Conservatives might feel that it could be different this time around when it still feels like there is a lack of a concrete plan?
It's frustrating. Well, look, concrete plans are put before the public when the election starts, right? There's a reason why it's said that being the opposition leader is the toughest job in politics, because your job is to oppose the government. It's not always to propose to be the alternative, and the opportunity and the window of opportunity to present yourself as the alternative government is the election campaign. So it's hard for someone when you're the opposition leader, then you go into a campaign, then you return back as the opposition leader, so that push pull of having to be opposed to the government, then present yourself as an alternative, then to be opposed to the government. It's really a challenging sort of back and forth that you have to do in politics, and it's a hard thing to pull off. And Pierre Poilievre is trying to pull it off as best he can, but it's a tough dynamic. Second thing I would say, by the way, I know it's part of the narrative about the last election campaign. They say Pierre Poilievre blew a 20-point lead. No, Pierre Poilievre had a 20-point lead over Justin Trudeau, but when Mark Carney came in, everything got reset. And Mark Carney changed the dynamic. Donald Trump set the stage for there to be a new opportunity for leadership in this country. And Mark Carney, to his credit, took that opportunity. And he pivoted away from Justin Trudeau. He got rid of the carbon tax. He put in place sort of a broad coalition of Canadians who wanted to sort of rally together and fight against Donald Trump and have a sort of this pan-Canadian view, which is why he's reached out and had a good partnership with Premier Ford. He's had a good relationship with Danielle Smith recently on the MOU on building an energy pipeline out to the west coast of Canada. He's demonstrated sort of this broad reach that has had a lot of appeal to a lot of Canadians that ordinarily wouldn't vote Liberal. And so Pierre Poilievre has to fight against that as well. So Pierre has a very tough job to do, right, of being an effective opposition leader, while at the same time trying to reserve the Canadians' judgment against him to have an open mind to support him as being an alternative to Mark Carney. So it's not an easy position he finds himself in.
James Moore, former Conservative cabinet minister, appreciate your insight today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.